Hey there. It's Wednesday, so I'm doing a Wellness Wednesday video here on the World Wide Web on my YouTube channel. It's free. They haven't kicked me off yet, so here we go. Today, talking about relationships, healing, and boundaries. Some fun topics. I'm doing this cool new thing where I try to stay on topic all week on social media and my webpage and kind of dive in deeper to some topics that can assist individuals along their health journey. The goal with these videos and this channel is to bring just health, mind, body, spiritual health information, make it more accessible to individuals outside of a coaching or integrative health practice. And to give some tips to individuals that are looking for some resources. I struggle with this medium. I do like to engage large groups, and I struggle with this because there's no feedback. I don't see anybody watching. And then also, the nature of the work that I do is healing is very individual. And I always, when I'm working with families or couples or individuals, really tailor things to them. And so it's really difficult to do that when I don't know who's watching. I don't know the audience. And then knowing that healing is very individual and you are where you're at, and whatever is calling to you at this moment is what is calling to you, and that's what you should be doing. And so this isn't information of me preaching or anything. It's just providing information to individuals that this may be what they need to hear, just where they're at with their healing journey at this point in time. And so I know that is very subjective and just kind of out there, but this may not fit for everyone. And I encourage you to ask questions and look for your own resources, because what fits your unique situation is what's going to fit you. And so sometimes you have to go through it. A lot of times people arrive to working with me after working with all different levels of practitioners. And typically, the commonality that I see with individuals when they arrive to working with me is they're looking for coaching because they've decided to take personal responsibility at all levels for their healing journey and where they're at. And um, they've realized that no one is going to save them, that it's on them to move forward, and they're excited. They have hope, or belief that they can self heal. And my role is to witness their journey and to provide outside resources, education, and kind of tailor make the rest of their tools to their unique situation. And it's very different, the way that I practice, because I don't have any standard of way that I work with someone. I'm not diagnosing anyone. I've never diagnosed a person in my entire life. I'm working on root symptoms and explaining what common connections might be, and we're ruling some of those things out. We're trying on new behaviors. We're getting feedback in real time by trying things out. How was that? What came up for you? Let's work through that. And I'm a practitioner that also does the work. I can only identify aspects in a healing journey of things that I've done in my own life. It's one thing to read about things, but it's another to have experienced them. So I feel so humbled and fortunate to have both the experience, personal lived experience, and then the education behind that. However, I am working as a coach and full integration, mind, body, spirit, looking for root healing, entry points, and whatever is calling to you, that's your entry point. Boo. So that's your next move. Typically, individuals or families are kind of stuck and they've tried a lot of things, or they're overwhelmed. I work with a lot of individuals who are people pleasers and they have broken down. Um, or individuals that are perfectionists or that did all of the things right and things are just still they just don't feel like themselves, or they know the outcomes could be different, and they're willing to try on new things. And so try integrating the whole person is the work that I do. And so this week we're talking about relationships, and so I wanted to give some just tips that I've seen with those that I'm working with, that I've noticed, that I've read about, all of these things. So I talked about one of my first posts this week was about dating, and just like a really kind of a funny dating topic, but it was kind of funny, but it's also kind of true. And so it's talking about, oh, what have you been doing? Just kind of healing ancestral trauma. And it kind of lends itself to, if you're on a personal development, a spiritual journey, a healing journey, journey to uncover aspects of yourself. And when you put yourself out there in dating, what can you say or can't say? Well, anything that you want to, that is your prerogative. Um, and the more vulnerable that you can be, you're going to show up authentically for the person that is, your potential suitor. And I would just challenge everyone to just show up as who they really are, without, um, if you haven't healed an aspect of yourself, if you're still working on that, and it's okay to keep that to yourself. But if you've gone on a personal development journey and you're wanting to partner, life is long. It's like a 50-year long conversation that you are signing, marriage. If you're deciding to marry, if you decide not to marry, that's okay too. But if you're deciding to marry or cohabitate with someone for the long term, and personal development and healing is important to you, then there are questions and things that you can ask in like a first date scenario to uncover that. One of my favorite questions is, what book spoke to you? What are you currently reading? Or what types of books have spoken to you? What do you do for fun, and like as far as your hobbies? Um, what are some of the biggest life lessons that you've learned? Kind of those things, trying to uncover everything outside of that first level of how are you? What's the weather? What's your favorite sports team? Getting beyond that, getting to kind of the root of, what are you going to talk about for the next 50 years, and what are you going to work on? And if you're truly, everyone that I work with is on a personal development journey. So I'm just going to speak to that, because I haven't had anyone that's ever come to me that's like, yeah, not for me. You don't really hire a coach if you're not interested in learning about different aspects of yourself. So sussing that out with another person. Have you gone in any leadership trainings? Do you go on any retreats? Have you ever taken a vacation by yourself? Talk about meditation or yoga, your spiritual practices, those kinds of things. You're going to quickly find out where the other person is at with that. And we evolve, everyone evolves, and relationships evolve. And over time, you go through these different seasons of life with another person, and trying to see where they're open, or if they are open to traveling alongside of you in a way that is not codependent, but a way that you can independently still grow and evolve, and they can as well. And you can join together for the things that you both share, and then, do your own thing. And so that is, conscious coupling or evolving. I mean, there's so many different terminologies out there, but this is how we grow as adult. I call it adulting. Um, when you're out there dating, I'm by no means a dating expert. I'm self-reported terrible at it. I don't like it. I do terrible with small talk, because I'm someone who is on a personal development journey, and I want to get into the meat of it. Like, what are you reading? What are you existentially? What are you existentially? I'm laughing at my own jokes. So, what are you existentially struggling with, or are you? Have you? Those kinds of really deep conversations are what I'm looking for, or was looking for, and I found my weirdo. So uh, there's somebody out there for everybody. Knowing yourself first is really key to dating, because at the end of the day, you will soon realize that another person will not make you whole. It's up to you. It's an internal job to do that. And you can co evolve together. My husband and I, we jokingly say that we were fixer-uppers with good foundations, and we decided to co-evolve together. And that was a conscious choice and one that just evolves over time. By no means, by me self-disclosing that, am I saying that our relationship is perfect. It's not. We are both human, and we figure it out. As I work with individuals who are dating or with families or spouses and couples on a healing journey, if you've had a chronic condition, mental or physical or spiritual for a long time, it becomes this. I have to be very conscious about the words that I use because I don't want anyone like writing this down and be like, "Oh, she said, this is the only way to go." There's many roads to Rome. Whatever speaks to you, please hear that. Whatever speaks to you is the way to go. Working with families, typically one person has made the decision or has come to the crossroads, the fork in the road, as to, okay, I need to do something differently, or I'm choosing to do something differently or behave differently in order to heal. And so I work with a lot of families, and typically women will come to me and they will be leaning into do the work. There's also many men that do as well that are working on integrating all of the aspects of themselves. Um, and typically men will lean more into self-help or mentorships, but oftentimes when they get to a point of trying a lot of things, they are typically open to coaching um, with someone who has integrated the feminine and the masculine, and being able to truly see them. And so with families, doing ego work and being present and being mindful, my approach is always to just work things through in real time. And so, not setting a time, this like fake simulation of like, okay, so let's try on this. No, work it out as it comes up because that's real life and you're not going to get any extra time as far as how to work through and try on new behaviors. And when someone is typically doing observing their ego or observing their patterns in real time. And a lot of times the entry point with this is when we're triggered. And so when you're triggered and you're working on personal development and evolving, and in that moment is the time when to start trying on new behaviors. And so that could be I use this example with the dishes in the house. So if someone is coming home and the dishes aren't done, and you're like, why didn't you do the dishes for the thousandth time? Why didn't you do that? And so you notice, like, when that comes up, it's not about the dishes, but to notice when that comes up and to say, hey, this is triggering for me right now, but I'm going to lean into it. Now, there are certain types when triggers have to be avoided and symptoms and things like that. Again, this is again where it's hard to give out just blanket um, tips to everyone, because if you have, what works for one doesn't work for another. But a lot of the times, leaning into the triggers can give a release and help you understand what is subconsciously behind that trigger. If it, a lot of we're kind of just ego balls of kind of stress and trauma, and we've, created these personas and personality traits to keep ourselves safe and to operate in the world that honors the societal conditioning of whatever that is for you. If you're a mother, then doing these things or whatever roles you're fulfilling. And I know this is very difficult to understand if you're like, I'm not working on any of these things. I just wanted to hear about boundaries. Shannon, get to it. What I'm saying is working on things real time as it comes up to say, hey, this is really upsetting me. Not you have to fix me and be responsible for my upset or my reactions, but I am responsible to uncover why this is. What aspect of you or what did you say that is coming up in me? And what about that? What can I work to? Because you can't fix another person. Have you ever tried? Have you ever tried to fix another person? Good luck with that. You can only work on yourself and your responses. And a lot of times the entry point is your reaction, like, oh man, your true self is the one that is observing these reactions, like, oh man, she is really acting a fool right now. She being me right now when I'm someone is freaking out about the dishes not being done for the thousandth time, my husband. But so working up, what are my reactions, to that in that moment? And then uncovering that. That can be done through meditation, yoga, dancing it out. Um, journaling is great. It's like, okay, this keeps coming up. What is here? Besides the dishes, the actual the actual event, what else could be there? So uncovering that. This is a process of reparenting ourselves, adulting, observing the ego. The work that we're really here to do is to uncover these stuck points and to integrate all aspects of it to ourselves to become whole, mind, body, and spirit. Okay. The healing journey is not linear, and knows no time. It's not time bound. It's not like, oh, it's been 6 months. I should be. That's a story you're telling yourself, and you're holding yourself back by holding this false story and narrative as the only signpost to healing. It's not linear. Celebrate the small wins and take time away from the equation. Take it out. Do not judge yourself by I should be. Who says who? Says who? Okay. Healing is not linear. Um, here's some ego, not some ego, excuse me. Here are some boundary tips. So boundaries should be used in the different areas of your life that you are struggling with um, a repeat offender, with someone that's sucking time, energy, emotional energy, bandwidth from you, and you're holding yourself back because you are being nice and you keep doing for the other person, and which takes away from you and your healing. I live in Iowa, and we have a term here called Iowa nice. Everyone here is very pleasant and very kind and very nice. And we ask about the weather and we chit chat all day long. And we're very nice to everyone's face, but that doesn't necessarily mean that um, I'm struggling with the words here. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can't put boundaries in place and still be nice, is what I'm trying to say. So, boundaries, the ultimate boundary is just no, no, period. Full sentence. Not going into explaining, not going into defending yourself, not going into stories, not going into, because all of that leads a back and forth, a dance of where you're giving away your boundaries and you don't have any. Boundaries are also hard for individuals that have no boundaries. However, boundaries are a radical act of self-love and for yourself, self-love for yourself, and a radical act of respect for the other person or persons that you are putting boundary in place. I wrote an article on my website this week, thepaleocounselor.com, about boundaries for adulting, and this information is written out there. So there's 5 tips to trying on a boundary. And so the first one is to write a script out. So you write the script out with someone in mind that you're going to use a boundary with. This someone is not the person that you have the most difficulty with. If you've never tried a boundary on, it's difficult behavior to try on. So don't start with the person that you have the most conflict in your life, but start with we're going to build up to that, but start with someone who it's going to be an easy win, quite frankly. There's no other way to state it. Easy win for yourself. Set yourself up for success when you're trying on a new behavior. Why not? So write the script out. Keep writing it out, honing it. Be clear and consistent with the script. And you have to be comfortable with boundaries with yourself. I guess that would be the precursor to even writing a script is if you struggle with making your own boundaries just with you, like what you are and aren't going to do, this is also going to be difficult, not only for them to hear, but for you. The second thing is you write out the script, number 1. The second thing is you practice the script until it's memorized. You can do this in front of the mirror. People think that's corny, but you can do this in your head. Essentially, when you're going to use the script, you're going to feel it's going to be a high intensity moment where you're kind of scared to use a boundary with someone because you've never done it before. Um, those are my words. You could feel whatever feelings that you're feeling, and they're all valid. Uh, but practice it until it's memorized. You kind of have to solidify this in your brain before you use it so that you can retrieve it in real time. The third piece is you're going to have to actually use it and try on the behavior in real time with the person in mind. And so um, it only gets easier after you continue to do that, and you have to be clear and consistent with it. The fourth is you have to sit with the discomfort because it's a new behavior for you to use. And if you're Iowa nice, using that example, it may feel like it just may feel foreign to you to say no, essentially. And although it may be the best thing for you, it's a difficult behavior until it is just a new behavior. Then it doesn't become difficult because you see how you can reclaim your time, your power, your energy, and heal because you have created space for that in your life with a boundary. So then you're sitting with the discomfort, and whatever comes up, and you just sit with it and you notice it, and you notice the emotion, you notice how it feels in your body. You sit with the discomfort, you realize that you can live through uncomfortable situations, and then you let it go. The one thing I would say here is don't tell a story about what the other person is thinking or feeling because typically that's not true and that's not none of your business. Your business is to sit with the discomfort and try on the new behavior. And whatever comes of that, comes of that. And don't tell yourself a false narrative on top of it because you are punishing yourself essentially and you are continuing a cycle of suffering that really doesn't need to be there. And then the fifth step in this whole thing is to celebrate. Congratulations, you put a boundary in place. You are now adulting, aka reparenting yourself, aka healing. So boundaries are just a really, really good entry point as far as um, healing in relationships, especially if you're dealing with hard things, symptoms, mental health symptoms, physical health symptoms, spiritual symptoms of meaning, purpose, connection, um, addiction, numbing, all of it. Those are also spiritual symptoms, boo. So sometimes we look for in the physical for what is in the spiritual. And yeah, I'm spiritually coming out of the closet here right now. And so to integrate those aspects of yourself can be really, really healing. Okay. Some literature, some education here because that's how I roll. Um, because it is your personal responsibility to heal and the ball's in your court. And so as a coach, I'm not someone will come to me, well, give me some advice. It's not what I do ever because it has to come from you. This is your truth. It's not mine. My healing journey is my own business. Yours is yours. Could look very different. And that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have a different thing that works for you. I think that's one of the misconceptions out there. Oh, I'm going to go on a tangent here. A misconception out there is people will preach and say, oh, do this one thing, do this one thing, do this one. No, they're telling you what one thing worked for them. Okay. That's great. And that is wonderful. I am so glad that there are things out there that work for everyone or that work for some people, but they don't work for everybody. And you are your unique. There are 7.5 billion of us on the planet here, and we are all unique. We're all the same. We're all one, but we're a different and unique expression, which means that our entry points are kind of different. Our journey is not for everyone to understand. It is not, and not everyone's going to understand it. So that's the other thing I want to leave you with is you're going to be misunderstood on your healing journey. You're going to have to sit with that and be okay. You're going to have to accept yourself and you have to accept being misunderstood. Not explaining, not defending, not preaching, just sitting with that. Okay, for your reading purposes. Coming out the closet here. Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. If you are interested in understanding, this book helps define ego work in a spiritual context that takes Eastern and Western, the Bible, and takes Jesus and the Buddha, And then some of the esoteric tests. And essentially the book is about the here and now and staying present, helps you understand yourself and other individuals and understanding their ego in real time, and and is an entry point to radical compassion to yourself and others, and understand that, yeah, they're just working out. Their ego is not their true self. And this helps you come from a higher stance to heal, because here's what is the secret sauce here. The problems that are created from a conscious level cannot be healed from that same level that it was created. And so we have to, some people call it vibrating higher, or whatever. And it's another level of consciousness that is higher, in order to observe and heal what was created at a lower level. This book describes that, what to do in real time. It's a game changer if you're into that. I'm not preaching on this stuff. I'm just giving some resources. If you love it, you love it. If you hate it, you hate it. It's all great. I don't care. I'm just sharing some things that may be beneficial to someone that's watching it. If you're not on a spiritual journey, but you feel like you're awakening to some truths, and a great book, another good book, Sam Harris is Waking Up. He's a world-renowned atheist, and A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion. And this book was also wonderful because it talks about presence as well without the context of religion, from an atheist who actually spent a lot of time understanding many religions for decades. And so that book kind of changed the way that I thought about Sam Harris. And the first couple chapters are kind of difficult, because he's really laying out the groundwork for, his work. And like, listen to me, I'm an atheist, but I have done some deep levels of work. But the second half of the book, oh man, it was great. So that is my book club report for you. If you like these videos, you like them. If you hate them, you hate them. They're free, so you get what you pay for. This year, I'm stepping up to the plate and doing some things that uniquely are on my path, and doing more community work, and working with little people and their families that are living in poverty, and then doing some psychedelic integration for Iowa and the Midwest, for plant-based medicine experiences, and not diagnosing anyone, but providing education and tools to integrate experiences for folks, and just doing my own thing here. And my journey is different than anyone else's, just like yours is. And I'm here to share information in a way that I hope comes off as open and not preachy, and inclusive. If you have questions, please let me know. I do have some coaching spots available for the fall. Clients are tremendously moving along, and working with a lot of individuals with a laundry list of diagnosis, that healing through being in the present moment and breath work. And I have a lot of clients that are using DNRS, look it up, and which is a brain retraining program for neuroplasticity, because we kind of get stuck. If you get a long list of diagnosis, you do get stuck in what I call our trauma loops, and which can be loops of anxiety, loops of intrusive thoughts, loops of PTSD, loops of symptoms reoccurring, loops of I'm a victim, loops of I'll never heal, loops of brain fog, loops and loops and loops of I can't move forward, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, loops of bad news bears, just those kinds of, if you can't get past, if you've done a lot of things, there's a lot of numbers out there, but typically what I see is 50% to 60% of the healing journey is in the mindset and the undoing and the unlearning, the being present, this kind of stuff, the conditioning, the breath work, the saying, I was raised this way, but I need to do things this way to honor myself. And how do I mesh the two in a way that I don't hate myself? And how do I integrate the light with the dark? You got to do both. How do I integrate these two to be whole? And you are already whole. No one is broken. We just have layers in these social masks that we have to take off and to get underneath to get to our true selves. And once you've had a glimpse of that, oh man, unstoppable. Ejection. You can hit the ejection seat button and then it's liftoff time. So I hope these videos are helpful. My goal is always just to provide information and self-healing so that you can practice this in real time and make it accessible. We can all heal. Everything heals. My definition of healing is the diagnosis, the symptoms, the labels no longer stick to you. And you aren't any of these things or labels. You just are. I am. That is healing. A sense of being, a sense of presence, a sense of awareness. Sometimes people call this consciousness. That is healing. And to know that you always were whole, and that part of our earth school here is to come back, the descent and the ascent. So to come back and arrive back home. And so it's a dope place to be. The journey is wild. Buckle up, boo. But there's support along the way. And there are holistic providers. There's spiritual advisors. There's a lot of awakened individuals that are working out in a variety of sectors. Don't look at the label and what the job and the title are. It could be a janitor that you walk across and you look eye to eye and you have a soul to soul and you're like, oh man, this is it. This is it. So anyone, we're all teachers and students here, and be open to the lessons and the learning. I am just sharing some resources and I hope they're helpful. My videos are always too long. I get really amped up. I hope this reaches whoever it's supposed to reach today, and sharing is caring. My daughter says that. Sharing is caring. I have not advertised the work that I do. I mean, there's no money for that, but it's kind of a boutique coaching consulting business that I have. And I am for the ones that I work with the ones that are ready for that we speak to each other. We speak the common language. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. And I'm just showing up every day and playing my role in this part of all of us here healing and sharing our unique skills and abilities in the way that uniquely speaks to us. So with that, I'm going to leave this very long video. Please share, ask questions. I do free consults with everyone, and to see if we're a right fit. If we're not, I'll send you to someone else who may be, or another program or service or book or something. I always give some next step to someone that may speak to them uniquely. If you haven't, is that burned into your brain that it's very unique and whatever works for you, and that's great and that's perfect and that's what you should be doing? Okay, so there we go. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hope you learned a little bit more about boundaries, or recommit yourself to a boundary. Try out boundaries in different environments of your life, whether it be with family, friends, work, within your hobbies or social groups. It doesn't say that you have to be told. Boundaries are just closing yourself up. It's actually opening yourself up for the internal work, the work that we're really here to do, that dimension, allowing space and time to rest, restore, reset, relax, rejuvenate, all the words, to relax and reset, and to get, to provide space, and also for you to learn how it feels to sit with discomfort. Like that can be healing too, to know that you can sit with discomfort, and what other areas of your life can you be uncomfortable in. Maybe a next step on the journey. Okay, I'm editing this. If I can figure out how to do this. Bye.